Thank you very much for answering everything so far. My questions are, I would say, rather more specific, I guess. One of the things that was mentioned during the presentation was that Al-Aqar REIT is looking to dispose of the Australian property, and has been looking to do that for a while now. So the question is it right now a good time to do that? Because there was some revaluation of the property downwards, for example, significantly. So do you see it as a good time to do that?
Okay, maybe again, maybe I'll set the background in terms of the aged care industry in Australia, because it's quite a big industry, because a lot of older people, older folks in Australia, and the industry itself is actually supported by the government, because the government actually subsidizes some of the cost of the operator. However, because of there are two major factors that has been affecting the aged care industry in Australia. One is that about 2 years ago, there were a lot of reports that came out in the media in Australia about elder abuse, particularly at smaller aged care facilities that employed those people that are not trained. And so because of this, the government was under pressure and actually set up a royal commission to actually determine what was the problem and what was the solution. So now that commission itself has actually gave its final report 3 weeks ago, and basically the outcome of the report is actually increases this uncertainty for the aged care industry. One is that they are recommending that the higher standards when it comes to in terms of the caregivers, people taking care of the elderly, meaning that they would like to have a higher percentage of nurses, for example, to be within that aged care industry itself, which will mean that the cost will be higher. Obviously, the profitability of the industry itself is already compressed because of competition. Now you have got this extra cost that's being imposed by the government. Secondly, the commission also talks about increasing the emphasis on home care. So the Masalih are actually following the Asian model, where they are asking the children to take care of their parents. But obviously the government will subsidize a certain portion of the cost of the children. So again, this is something that is going to affect the demand for aged care. But again, I don't want to be too negative about it, because it's still a report, it's still a recommendation. And Australia, they are having a federal election in November 2nd, and I doubt the government would want to make decision on something as politically sensitive as aged care during this time. So there's most likely that in the next 18 to 2 years, things will be status quo. So that's the first, the Australian Royal Commission. Secondly, the COVID-19 has also impacted the industry itself. Sorry, I'm getting a feedback. Is that?
Yeah, I think Rondi, maybe I think something happened with Rondi's on Rondi's side.
Sorry, yeah, it's okay. I need to refresh, but you guys go ahead, please.
Okay, all right. What was that? Okay, the COVID-19. Because the COVID-19 affects the elderly more than the young, the millennials and all that. So the disproportionate death in terms of those that are from COVID are actually at the aged care facilities. One statistic that we read was that 75% of the death in Australia that was connected with COVID was at the aged care facilities. Fortunately, at our place, Jetta Garden, there weren't any deaths that was related to COVID. The death were purely because of old age. But again, because of the disproportionate death affecting the pensioners at the center, the fear of people wanting to go to aged care is there. So until it has stabilized, until the full vaccinations is completed in Australia, the sector itself will be having this uncertainty internally. So that's the background of this. So coming to, in a sense, why do we want to sell now? It's something that we have contemplated, but again, it's not something that we want to pull the trigger now, because obviously the issues they are facing the aged care means that we need to seriously look at the disposal of Yetta Garden to actually protect ourselves in the future. But there are other options for us instead of just selling it outright. For example, the land itself, where the facilities are sited, are also potentially can be developed, and this is something we are also looking at. So we have not made the decision in terms of whether to dispose, but we are going through the process of getting the RFP, that so that we have all the necessary data for us to make decision. In any case, when we dispose, we'll tie it back to the acquisition, so that our primary objective of maintaining the DPU, the dividends per unit, is actually there. We don't want a situation where dividend is substantially reduced just because of the acquisition. We also have a lot of reserves that we've been built up over the last 15 years to actually support the dividend in the event of any disposal.
Thank you, Anshe. In this regard, I have a question, a related question actually, because in the presentation it was mentioned that one of the objectives of the investment in that aged care facility was to obtain know-how in managing an aged care facility. So do you have any immediate future plans on potentially acquiring another aged care facility somewhere else, not specifically in Australia?
In fact, we've gotten quite good return from Australia. They're paying us 8.5%, which is substantially above the market rates in Australia. But obviously, we are interested, especially in Malaysia. Malaysia's population demographic, we are getting older. There's a lot of people like me that are close to the retirement age, and previously we were being held back by, I believe, especially when we talk about the Malays in terms of the social aspects of sending your parents to aged care facility. So that has been the major consideration. But now with the aging population, by 2030, our above 60 will be quite substantial. So we believe there is a potential market for us to introduce these sort of products to the Malaysian. We are looking at options in Malaysia in terms of there are a number of retirement centers in Malaysia, but mostly are done by developers that are just dressing their products as retirement villages. Now that in order to sell the properties, whereas we are going to use our experience and our expertise that we built up over the years in Australia in terms of the kind of facilities and services. We are going to introduce that to Malaysia.
Thank you.